Why are Japanese cars so reliable? According to many recent and past surveys, Japanese cars are almost synonymous with reliability. It's an association that drives many to purchase vehicles from a Japanese brand like Mazda or Toyota. Japanese automaking has maintained a popular reputation. Many have even become collectibles, whilst most are renowned for their day-to-day reliability. Where did this reputation for reliability come from? It is in the manufacturing process. American and European markets have long benefited from the effective production model pioneered by Henry Ford and his assembly line. Yet, Japanese efficiency can't be captured by the conventional assembly line. Instead, production techniques have in many cases challenged and rivaled established industry practices. In the post-war Japan, a lack of capital investment and finite resources shaped a more frugal construction practice. As a result, the arrival of just-in-time, or JIT, manufacturing answered to these struggles and offered a roadmap to efficiency, whilst making the cars increasingly more reliable. Post-World War II, Japan was an underdog in the automotive industry. Japan had to prove itself on the world stage against established brands. But what did they offer in the market that really made them boom in the 60s and 70s? Well, price was one of the main factors that allowed Japanese vehicles to make waves in the industry. Primarily developed through Toyota, as the Toyota production system, this just-in-time manufacturing and various other lean or efficient production methods were used in Japan and has two objectives: to quicken production phases whilst responding to demand from buyers. Rather than producing goods and supplying customers from an existing volume of stock, just-in-time manufacturing processes focus on producing exactly the amount you need at exactly the time your customers need it. Because of the lack of resources, they are forced to use automation and make parts go further. It's the attention to detail that makes Japanese cars so reliable. The process is so finely tuned that it detects and corrects mistakes in the car's assembly, and manual labor is maximized to carry out tasks machines can't do. Nowadays, Japanese assemblies represent a balance between robotic automation and the human touch. As a result of all this, Japanese cars are more focused on mass production. They target people that are seeking a reliable means of transport. Even when the car fails, it is easily fixed, and the parts are cheaper. When it comes to the German cars, for example, it's a different story. These cars are more performance and speed orientated. They are also more expensive when compared to Japanese cars, and it can be argued that more effort is spent on the quality of build materials and the design of the car. Not to say Japanese cars aren't also visually appealing. In general, German engines are designed for high performance, which means they are on their highest performance points out of the manufacturer, without any tuning or mods. While the Japanese engines are not pushing their engines to the top level in the stock form, they are downrated to produce less power, but to last longer. You can see where many car enthusiasts are able to produce a tremendous amount of power from Japanese engines after some modifications and tuning, reaching up to 2 times or even 3 times or more times the power. This is less common with European makes. Having said all that, we shouldn't take anything away from European makes, as it's just a different way of approaching production and manufacturing. For example, the Japanese work culture is very different. They focus on continual improvement and streamlining of processes, called kaizen in Japanese. It is part of the societal standards in Japan of dedication, perfection, and efficiency, which are all present in Japanese work ethic, and that bleeds into the products. When we talk about engines, engines are often the most complex pieces of the puzzle when making a car. If you've noticed, Japanese vehicles don't often change their engine from one series to the next as time goes on. It usually takes about a decade or two before we see an entirely new engine roll out of the production line and into a consumer's hands. As an example, the L series engine from Honda has been around since 2001 and served as the brand's replacement for the aging D series engine, a series that was in production for over a decade before its replacement. Now, 20 years into the production of the L series engine, and Honda have continually refined and innovated on the platform that launched way back when. Some of the early L series motors featured technology called Intelligent Dual Spark Ignition, or IDSI. There were also several improvements made to the engine that included the brand's iVTEC, or variable valve timing technology. Other modifications to this platform include dual overhead cams, turbochargers, and even hybrid systems. You may find this series of engines in the Honda City, Brio, Mobilo, and BRV. Surprisingly, the Honda Civic also has an L-Series engine in the lineup. The top-of-the-line RS turbo trim gets an L15B7. The components inside the engine and around the engine are different, but the block and the general design of the engine remain largely the same as the other L-Series motors of Honda. This is an example of continual improvement, keeping something that works but gradually improving on it. Even their performance engines like that in the Civic Type R has the same engine series as the CR-V, Accord, and Odyssey, albeit tuned and modified to a different standard. For example, the K20 in the Type R is not the same engine as the K24 in the Accord or Odyssey, but it's from the same family of motors, just designed to perform. So in conclusion, Japanese car parts are tried and tested. Each generation is better than the next. The market that the engine will be sold in has a good amount of support from first and third party suppliers due to it being around for such a long time, and the technicians and mechanics that will work on the car are familiar with the engine itself. It's even better when the Japanese manufacturers come up with a performance edition of their popular reliable models. Additionally, Japanese engines are historically easier to work on, as many mechanics will tell you, and that's just a side effect of the design. It also helps that by keeping the engine and perfecting it over time, the parts and consumables that are required during maintenance are already very available in the market. So there you have it. Those are the reasons for the reliability known to Japanese manufacturers. European makes are catching up, in fact, and nowadays it may not be uncommon to see collaborations such as the Fiat 124 Spider, basically using Mazda's MX-5 platform, or the new Toyota Supra sharing a BMW engine. It's all part of an international collaboration to improve production quality, costs, and processes. The line actually may be gradually blurring. And there you have it. That's why Japanese cars are so reliable, but as we mentioned before, the line is gradually blurring. We hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for a variety of other topics and live an informed life.